Hey guys, what's up? So I want to share with you some tips for those of you who want to learn multiple languages at once or wondering how to do so, whether or not you're learning maybe 2 languages, 4 languages, or maybe even 7 languages, and whether or not you want to become fluent in all of these languages or just reach a certain conversational level. Hopefully this video will help you with reaching the progress you desire when it comes to studying these languages. Thank you so much for watching. So my first tip has to do with scheduling when you want to study these languages. So for different languages, you can pick different days of the week you want to study them if you're worried about mixing them up, because like Romance languages, for example, can be very similar, and when you're first learning them, it can be very confusing, and people do often mix them up. So maybe like on Mondays and Tuesdays, you study Spanish. Maybe on Wednesdays and Thursdays, you study French. That way, if you're studying them the same day, then you're not mixing what you learn from one language with what you just learned from another. Or maybe if you already have reached a certain fluency in one language and you're worried about maybe forgetting everything if you start a new language, maybe pick different times of the day to study them. Like maybe in the morning you study Russian, maybe in the evening you study Portuguese, something like that. Also, it is important kind of to have maybe study them at the same time of day. That way you kind of just make more progress and you're used to a stricter schedule, so you know you will continue studying these languages. If you're worried about not sticking to, maybe you have a goal of speaking fluent French in 2 years, something like that, for example. So for tip number 2, it is extremely important to prioritize which languages and what fluency you want to reach. So let's say you want to learn 4 languages. So you've chosen what 4 languages you want to learn, but it's going to be extremely hard to fit them all in the same day when it comes to studying. So maybe you want to choose one language to focus on primarily, and the other 3 you focus kind of on the side. Like you don't study them every day like you have chosen your first language, but you still study them and you still can reach like a conversational level by the time you have reached a certain fluency in the first language. This way, if you're studying them all at the same time, like every day, you're not going to be able to put in a lot of time each day, especially if you like go to school full time, if you work full time. It's not going to be impossible, but you're just not going to make the progress you want with each language. So for my third tip, like I've said in my previous video on how not to confuse Spanish and Italian, it's really important to remember the differences between each language. And if you want to watch that video, I'll just put the link in the description. But by differences, I mean when it comes to learning languages from the same language family, like French and Italian or Swedish and Norwegian, it can get very difficult when it comes to trying to distinguish between the two. So if you think of them as 2 different languages from the start, then that's going to just help prevent like future confusion, and like maybe it'll just help more with your progress. Because think of it as this way: let's say you have 2 best friends and they're identical twins. You can still, for the most part, tell them apart because they're your friends. So that's just kind of how like languages from the same family work. Like they're 2 different languages, but they still have their similarities. And for my last tip, it's just kind of a general thing when it comes to learning languages. So try to intertwine your interests with what language you're learning. So by that, I mean, let's say you love to cook. So maybe read cookbooks in the language that you're learning, watch cooking shows in the language that you're learning, or maybe you're really into history, study history from the countries that speak the language you're learning. If you like watching soap operas maybe, and you're learning Spanish, watch some telenovelas, whatever really works. Also, thank you guys so much if you watch this video to the end. If you like learning about languages and cultures in general, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of content on Spanish and Italian especially, and America too. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.